Welcome to The Odd Show, where the G is silent and represents a God who is sometimes difficult to see in the world that we live in. Join the discussion as we try to figure out how to live as Christians in that place of tension created by a world that doesn't quite get us and a church that often reacts rather than acting out of compassion. Now, here's your hosts, Bruce Pagano and Thomas Hogan. All right. Hey, welcome to The Odd Show. We are back. The G is silent. We're back, and we have a treat for you. We've been saying for the last couple, we've I've been mentioning.
We say things.
Yeah, we say things, but I've been mentioning a little bit. But we've been, I've mentioned that we're going to have a guest on, and we haven't had a guest on in a while. We haven't done an interview since David Mike put his book out. But we have James Roberson. Did I say it? Roberson. Is that right?
The second one.
We just got to ask you.
I just asked him
Seconds ago.
So we met. I met James through a couple different groups: Dreamers and Builders, 30 Days of Hustle, and he's doing some really great stuff. And what I know about him all I know about him is from his Facebook profile, and he's a busy guy. He's got a lot of stuff going on. James,
I know we only do this show. That's it. We got nothing else going on.
But man, like I was looking at your thing, and you're like the CFO of Roberson Music, ambassador for 8 Days of Hope. You got 516 Project construction ministry going on. You're a dad. You're a husband. So introduce us to you. Introduce you to everyone.
Tell us a little bit of the story, man.
Yeah, as you can tell, I enjoy my free time. Just sitting around.
All 6 seconds.
So I mean, you covered it. That's kind of the James in a nutshell right there. My wife and I have been married for 11 years now, and I've got 3 awesome kids. My oldest is just turned 9, and my youngest is getting ready to turn 4 next month. So they definitely keep us rolling and keep us on our toes.
And you have an epic beard. So
thanks, man.
Yeah, you can hide things in that.
Yeah, my kids always give me a hard time. Because of course eating dinner never fails. Something gets hung up in there. Like, you saving that for later? I'm like, yes, I am. As a matter of fact.
Awesome. So 4 and 9, you said 4, 9, and what?
3. Well, 4, 5, and 9. Middle one will be 6 here in a couple months.
Yeah.
So
what's your
one in preschool?
Nice. What's your full-time job? Is 516 Project your thing, or?
I wish it was. No, actually, my full-time job is the music store. So my family, my parents started the store back in 1978, and so I've been part of it, my whole life, in different aspects. Whether it was, of course, growing up, I was in there all the time. But then as I got older, working part-time and stuff, and I came back into the business full-time in 2014 as the operating officer. And so that's where I make my living.
Gotcha.
The 516 stuff is just at this point, it's a side project. It's all volunteer, just trying to help folks out. So one of these days it might be, rolling enough to support me, but not at this point.
Yeah, for sure. So about 516 Project, and that's kind of the basis for here, and we'll get to 8 Days of Hope. But I love what you're doing with 516 Project, and I wrote down the mission as far as what the website said. It says to help homeowners in need of home repairs that are unable to afford or have physical barriers to complete those projects on their own, those repairs on their own. So tell us about 516 Project.
Yeah, tell us how it gets started.
How you started it, like where it came from.
What you want to.
Yeah,
that's a big thing to go from music store to construction.
Right. So and there's obviously there's the long story, and then there's the shorter story. But yeah,
somewhere is where we fit most of the time.
Well, kind of in the middle, yeah. But yes, basically, growing up, when I was in high school and everything, I started working, different kind of construction jobs and stuff. And so that's where I kind of got the taste for that sort of work. And my grandfather was always doing stuff like that, so I did a lot of work with him growing up. And so that's where kind of got that love for that type of work. Um, and then up until I'd come back into the music business full time, that's what I had been doing. I had been doing handyman work, construction, different types of things. And I'd also been a professional firefighter for 10 years. And so, I was always kind of in that sort of stuff. Um, and so really this whole thing started really in about the February of 2006. I joined a church that had a program where basically they had what they call a mission to Hanover. Hanover was the county that we were living in, and basically, once a year we would go out and reach out to folks in the community, mostly widows, a lot of the older ladies from the church, stuff like that, and help them get their houses fixed up, get the yard cleaned up before the winter, help seal up the windows, wrap the water pipes, all that sort of stuff, and so that's how I kind of started getting involved in this aspect of ministry and using construction as a ministry opportunity. Um, and so, just grew through that. And then, in 2014, when we moved that back to Fredericksburg, I wanted to keep on serving. And so we started going to a new church. We moved back up here because obviously, driving an hour and a half to get to church was kind of not going to happen with young kids. um, and so, we were sitting in Sunday school one day, and about 2 days, I guess it was like the Thursday or Friday before that, my wife and I had been talking, and I was kind of down because we had been living back in Fredericksburg for about 8 months, and I hadn't been serving at all. I was just nose into work, and it was go to work, come home, go to bed, go to work, come home, go to bed kind of thing. And we had been talking. I was like, I can't. This isn't what I'm supposed to be doing, you know. Um, and so we're sitting there in Sunday school, and one of the ladies says, "Hey, let's see about doing like a service project as a class, so we can kind of all come together and do something and everything." And so I just kind of perked up and I raised my hand and I said, "Well, hey, I've got experience doing X, Y, Z with the last church I was at. What do y'all think about something like that?" And it took off like wildfire, man. Right. By the end of church that day, we had about 10 people that said they wanted to help out, and we had about 3 people who either needed help themselves or knew somebody near them that needed some help. And so by the end of that following week, um, I was getting phone calls every day about it and everything. So on Friday, I told my wife, I was like, I'm pretty sure this is what I'm supposed to do. Like God just hit me upside with a 2x4 and said, "All right, here you go. Start running." Nice. And so yeah, we just kind of hit the ground running with it right from there.
So when did 516 Project become
516 Project?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was
516. Yeah. Like when did that?
So that all took place. That all took place. That was let's see. That was the beginning of September of 2015. Oh
wow.
We ended up holding the first work day in November. And on that first work day, we had 30 people show up to volunteer and work on 10 houses. So it was just that in itself was a huge God story because, when I had been involved with other organizations previously, it was taking us, 4 months, maybe even 6 months to plan a work day and get everything lined up and get all the ducks in a row and everything. And stuff would still go wrong. And here we planned this whole thing with kind of a skeleton crew. I was the only one that really had experience in it. Everybody else was kind of just coming in. And we planned this whole thing in basically a month, and it went great. And people are like, "Oh yeah, this is great," and you did such a good job. And I'm like, "No, I'm along for the ride on this. I can't explain this except for that God did it because this is."
It sounds to me like it's one of those things where God just kind of prepares you and puts stuff in your heart and builds you up, and then eventually you just get let go. You get let loose into whatever it is, the calling, however it works out, and you just do it.
Absolutely. It's just there's been so many things along the way. So, like I said, we had that first work day, and that was kind of like, okay, this is definitely something that has traction. Let's go with it. So I started looking into it, like, okay, well, we need to set this up as an organization, get insurance, all this sort of stuff.
Right.
I started looking into the process of setting up a nonprofit. And of course, there's government fees involved in that. You got to, to do it right, you really need to get a lawyer just to kind of make sure everything's, all squared away. So I'm like, okay, well, this is all cool. I've got my little checklist, and as I can start setting some money aside, I'll look at making this happen. About 2 days go by, and I get a call from a friend of mine. She's like, "Hey, this guy I know is a lawyer. He heard about what you're doing, and he wants to help out." I'm like, "Okay, cool." So I call him, but kind of give him the same story I just gave y'all, and say, "Hey, we want to set it up as a nonprofit. We don't have any money at this point to do that. So, let me know what your fees would be. And as we get some money set aside, we'll get with you and, start making the next steps." He said, "Okay, well, send me over the documentation of this, and this, and I'll get everything set up for you." I said, "No, you didn't hear me. I don't have any money right now. I need to know like what the fees are going to be and all." He's like, "Oh yeah, your fees are covered. I'm covering all that for you." But he did not charge
we call that a setup.
Yeah.
That's a setup. It's set up.
And so yeah, so I'm sitting there thinking, I'm like looking around, like, okay, what just happened here, And so anyway, come to find out, we get all that going, which is awesome. Then we get to the point of putting in all the applications, with the IRS and everybody, and of course, all those have application fees. So we were looking at about $600 of application fees. So once again, I'm sitting there, I'm like, well, I really don't have $600 just lying around that I can, put on this. So let me get the money together over the next few months, and I'll give you a call. We can submit everything. Literally the next day, my phone rings, and it's a local guy that's big into real estate and stuff, and he calls and he says, "Hey, I heard you were setting up this thing. I've got a check in my office to kind of help you get started out. Stop by and pick it up." I go pick it up, and it is the exact amount that we need for the government fees.
Of course it was. Why wouldn't it be?
It was. I'm like, I literally, I walked in, I grabbed the envelope from the secretary, thank you very much, and I go out in my truck and I open it, and my jaw just drops.
You think God's going to try to be sneaky? He's not sneaky. It's obvious what you're doing.
So yes, I'm just sitting there in my truck, like, okay, God, and I called my wife and I was like, "Honey, I know what God wants me to do," because at that point, like that second thing was like, okay, the first one I can say, oh well, maybe that was just happening, whatever. The second thing, I'm like, okay, I get it, God, I'm hearing you. Here we go. Let's see what's going on.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
So when was that? Like, when were you like 501c3?
Yeah, so that all we became an official 501c3 on February 18th of 2016.
Oh man!
Wow.
So you just had your 1 year?
Yeah, so
anniversary?
we just had our 1 year anniversary a couple months ago. Yeah.
How many people you have on a project? Do you think? I'm guessing you're pulling in volunteers, right?
Yeah, it depends on what we've got going on. Right now, we've got about 80 registered volunteers.
Oh,
and we've got a big work day coming up in May. And so that's growing rapidly right now because our local Christian radio station, 90.5 PER, has been running spots for us. And so and that's another awesome God story. I ran into one of the ladies that worked there through another mutual acquaintance and started talking to her, telling her what was going on. And they sent me an email a couple days later and was like, "Hey, we want to have you as one of our, they have what they call impact partners, who are groups with that throughout the community that are making an impact." And so they're like, "Hey, we want y'all to be one of our impact partners. We're going to be, put you on the air. I'm actually next week. I'm going to be live on the air, here in Fredericksburg and everything." So another just awesome time of things just God just putting everything together and just laying it out right in front of me.
Yeah. I mean, some churches can't even get 80 volunteers. So
yeah, more people.
So what are some, like, I know you guys just built a ramp. I saw that.
Yeah.
I saw some pictures. Awesome. What are some other recent projects you guys have?
Yeah, we've done. Of course, we do. There's a lot of smaller projects too. So we've been doing. We've got a lady here that her husband passed away a couple of years ago. So whenever we get some folks together, we'll go over and clean up our yard, trim the shrubs, put some mulch down, stuff like that. We just finished a small job for a gentleman. He and his wife are both disabled, and so they just needed some basic maintenance on the house. So we cleaned the gutters, painted the railings on their steps, cleaned up the yard, raked up the leaves, everything. The last big project we did was, well, of course, the ramp, but then the one before that was a roof replacement. And that one was for a family that the husband's working 2 jobs. His wife is sick to the point where she's pretty much bedridden, and so he's working his butt off to try to keep their household up and everything. And after a few storms, the roof had started to leak. So and actually they were one of the first folks we worked with. That very first work day in 2015, we had gone in and patched the ceiling in their bedroom had collapsed because of the roof leak. And so we were able to get the roof kind of temporarily patched. Of course, at that time, we didn't have, any kind of funding or resources to get, shingles and all that sort of stuff. But we were able to patch that drywall, fix the ceiling for them. And then, basically right out a year later, we were able to go back and replace the whole roof for them.
So how do you guys pick who you guys go serve? People submit names, or do those people apply that need it, or?
Yeah, we've got an assistance request form on the website, and then we've hooked up with a lot of the local agencies. So most of our work actually ends up coming from other organizations. So it might be social services. There's an agency here that works with elderly folks on helping them find resources. There's a disability resource center here, and so a lot of those groups will refer folks to us when they have people coming in that have a certain need, and they say, "Hey, I think this is something that 516 Project could help you guys out with." Give them a call, email, whatever. So that's where most of it comes from, and then secondary to that, a lot of it's coming from different churches. A lot of folks will reach out to either their church or churches nearby to them when they need something. And so we're working on building those relationships with multiple churches around the area so that we can help out when that stuff happens.
Right. So before we move into 8 Days of Hope, I think it's worth mentioning that this is a ministry. This is you guys ministering to people, and 516 is actually a scripture verse reference. So can you just real quick, I think Matthew 5:16.
Yeah, it's Matthew 5:16. So let your light shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven. And that verse has been a very important verse in my life. It's probably somewhere around 2010ish, 2011 maybe. Like I said, I had gotten involved in this kind of stuff in about 2006, and that's right around this, right after I became a Christian. So I was just real new into the whole thing, and I was one of those guys. I always had it in my head, hey, I'm a good person. I don't need Jesus. I don't need God. I'm a good guy. I'm not, I'm not killing anybody. I'm not robbing somebody. Whatever like that. Obviously, I figured out the error of that. But even after becoming a Christian, I found myself, doing the good deeds, but at the same time saying, "Hey, look at me! Look what I'm doing! Look at me! Look at me!" And it was all about me. It wasn't about God at all. Even though I was serving through the church, and so it was one of those. We were sitting there in another Bible study setting, and that verse came up, and it was one of those just light bulb moments of, "Oh, now I get it." Yeah, and so from that point, I really, that's where I made that concerted effort to be able to say, okay, if I'm out doing this stuff, I have to make sure that I'm doing it for God and not to say, look at me. And so that's been something that's been very important in setting this group up and in other groups that I volunteer with, is making sure that the ministry aspect of it is the focus. We say at the beginning of our work days, and we have all our volunteers get it up. And this is actually something that I stole from my buddy Chris, who I used to serve a lot with, well, still serve a lot with. He's with 8 Days of Hope full time now, but he used to live up here before he moved down to be with them. And one of the first work days, not probably maybe one or two work days I was involved in after I'd studied that verse in that Bible study class. He was standing up in front of everybody, and the first thing he said that morning, after kind of saying good morning, how's it going, he's like, look, if we go out today and a hammer never comes off of one of our trucks, a piece of wood never gets stuck together or cut in half, and we don't even use the first nail, but you talk to somebody and share Jesus with them, we've had a successful day. And so that now that's how I start every one of the work days. I make sure that everybody knows, hey, if we're going out to do work, but really that's our gateway. That's our reason to be there. And the other cool thing about that is it typically opens up the conversation for you, because you get to the house, and a lot of times these folks have they've been in need for some time and have reached out to this person, that person, this group, that group, and have either not been able to get help or denied, or whatever the case may be. And so it's very often that you get that question of, well, why are you here helping me? And so it just it opens that door to be able to say, well, I'm here helping you because I believe that Jesus Christ told me to be here helping you. This is what I'm supposed to do. And it just opens that door to have that conversation. And it's a great ministry opportunity because you're having that conversation on their turf. Right. You're not having to drag them to church. You're not at some event where you're just in their face. You're in their home. They're comfortable. So we've seen that people are so much more receptive and open to having that discussion, because it's not you're not sitting there beating them with the Bible. You're just talking to them and helping them out.
Yeah, definitely. So you're an ambassador for 8 Days of Hope, which is another nonprofit.
Yep.
Tell us about 8 Days of Hope.
Yeah, so 8 Days of Hope is a similar type stuff. They're a national ministry, so they're on a much larger scale, and their focus is on disaster relief. And so currently there's 2 divisions, and we're actually the ministry is growing just leaps and bounds right now. So they're getting ready to announce some other divisions that are going to be coming out. But as of right now, it's disaster response from an immediate standpoint and from a rebuilding standpoint. So with the immediate standpoint, with those teams, we're able to get into an area after a flood, tornado, hurricane, whatever it is, typically 48 to 72 hours after the event. And actually, last October, we had an event scheduled down in South Carolina to do some rebuilding from the flooding that had been a year prior to that. And we happened to be showing up on the day that the hurricane hit. I forget which name that one was, but so that one ended up being we were there in the middle of it. So there was no lag time, which was kind of interesting.
You have to pray because there's no team to come get you guys.
Exactly.
You guys have
to team. Yeah, I mean, I was driving there through the storm, like passing flood waters and everything. I'm like, this probably isn't a good idea.
So when you guys go in there as a response, are you putting up tents and stuff like that?
Yes, with the emergency, with the rapid response side of it, we're doing a lot of chainsaw work, trees cleaned up, things like that. With the flooding, a lot of what are called mud outs, so where you're literally taking shovels and wheelbarrows into folks' houses and getting all the mud and silt and everything out of their house, and of course cutting all the drywall out, cutting all the insulation out, stuff like that. A lot of roof tarping, so especially after tornadoes, hurricanes, stuff like that, roofs get tore up. So we have these big rolls of roof tarp. We roll out, get that stapled up there, and then nailed up and everything, so they can at least prevent further damage as if it starts raining or whatever like that. And so that part of the ministry is definitely it's real quick. Get in there as soon as we can, and just start blessing people. Right from the get go.
Yeah. So and now, what we're talking about mainly for this is the second part of that, right?
Right. And so this is where the 8 Days of Hope ministry actually got its start. And the events are actually 8 days long. and we're going into these areas that have had these disasters. Typically, probably 8 months, a year, even 16 months after something has happened, whether it's flood, hurricane, whatever, and actually working on the rebuilding aspects. That's the one downfall to a lot of the disaster response agencies is that there's all this focus on it as it's happening, right after it's happened, because you got the news media, you got all that stuff going on, you got the social media stuff now, but then all that goes away, and there's still people that are suffering. We go in, like I said, we go into these areas, a year after whatever event, and there's still people that can't live in their houses because of the damage, and there's nobody there to help them. So that's really the focus of that, is getting in there and actually rebuilding these folks' homes, getting them back to some sort of normal semblance of their daily lives.
Got it. So this event, this next 8 Days of Hope event, is in June. What are the dates? And
June 4th through 11th. And so it's going to be Lafayette, Louisiana. They had some just historic flooding last August. It was over 100,000 homes were affected, and just massive amounts of damage. And all because of rainfall. It wasn't a hurricane or anything. It was just a lot of rain.
What was the say the dates again?
June 4th through 11th.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you said rainfall. Like, are we talking like it swelled rivers and just?
Yeah, it was swelling rivers. Levees were getting breached. The whole deal. If I recall correctly, I don't have it right in front of me, but I think it was over 2 feet of rain in like a 48-hour period or something like that. I mean, it was just a ridiculous amount of rain. And don't quote me on that, because I don't have it right in front of me, but I'm pretty sure that's close to what I read. But yeah, it was just
a lot of rain.
Yeah, a lot of rain. And so the rivers were swelling. They had levees that were breaching. So it just ended up being a real bad situation. Like I said, it was over 140,000 homes that ended up being affected by that. Not to mention, of course, all the businesses.
Like it was deep. Like all the pictures I saw, like there were houses that were like under a lot of water.
Yeah, I was looking at a lot of the pictures I saw. I mean, there was houses that the gutter line of the house was just barely above the water, if not touching. So yeah.
So I really out of all this, I really love the idea that you're not just meeting the practical immediate need, but it's that long-term need, that long-term development and rebuilding and restructuring. I mean, it's spiritually. I mean, I think that's it. People do the same thing all the time. They go in and fix the immediate problem. Like, man, you need to be saved. You need to know the goodness of God, and then you don't build out that long-term. How are you doing a year from now, 2 years? From now? Is your life being rebuilt in this? And there's just such a correlation, and it's awesome to see that Christians are taking so seriously the practical needs of people's immediate situation of, man, I don't have a house, I don't have a place to stay, I don't know what's going to happen next, how am I going to get to work? But also a year out, a year and a half out, people are looking at, man, how can we help you rebuild and restructure and really be a benefit to you long term, not just in this immediate time. Because I think that's when everybody feels good about it. There's an earthquake in Haiti, and everybody wants to give money, and everybody wants to run down there and help out with Doctors Without Borders and all these other teams. But 2 years from now, whenever those kids, have to go back to orphanages and all this other stuff happens, that's whenever the church really has this amazing opportunity to rebuild somebody's life, really have this long-lasting impact on somebody's life.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where, kind of you're taking that discipleship model and, kind of converting it over to construction, and so, and it's really, and that's where, it really opens up that conversation, like I was saying earlier, because a lot of those people that are in those communities think they've been forgotten, because, that initial burst has gone, and, you've lost, the news media is gone, all the people that came in, all that money that came in right away is done. And so a lot of those people, they feel like, okay, well, I'm forgotten about. Nobody cares anymore. and they've lost hope. And so that's one of the reasons that going in there at that time is so important with 8 Days of Hope, because it truly does. It restores that hope, that passion that folks have. And there again, it opens up that opportunity to tell them, hey, Jesus loves you and we are here to just bless your socks off.
Right. So I'm like, when you contacted me and then I started looking at it, I'm thinking in my head, I know how long a project takes me in my house. I try to.
I know. I'm just putting up a shelf. That's all I gotta do is put up a shelf.
I converted a bookshelf that we have into a closing door, and it 6.5 hours. It was a long time to put some doors on a cabinet.
You got it done in the same day? That's impressive.
Yeah, same day, but 6.5 hours, and a little frustrating.
And you're one guy screwdriver,
yeah,
and that's it.
And then after that, it was during spring break. I was like, I'm not going to do any more projects. That was it.
Right.
How many houses can you actually do in 8 days?
I mean, obviously, it depends on the volunteers that are showing up at the thing. I know the leadership team is going down next weekend to start doing the assessments. And I believe that the report we got was, as of right now, they've got 100 houses that are on that assessment list.
Wow.
And then there's going to be more added to that as we progress. That's the initial assessment list. So I'm just trying to remember, and I had it written down. And I forgot my notes. I was trying to remember how many houses we worked on the last time, and I don't have it in front of me. But yeah, I mean, there is a lot of work getting done. Yeah. So we're expecting for Lafayette, we're expecting
all day, 8 days.
Yeah, we're working all 8 days. Like I said, for Lafayette, we're expecting 2,500 volunteers to show up.
Wow. So. And you guys, they're still taking in volunteers? They're still taking in names?
Yeah, we're still taking on volunteers. We got about another 30 days to sign up officially.
They're usually going to through the thing. More than 100 houses in 8 days.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. And we're talking some of them probably pretty deep.
Yeah. And that, of course, that's going to be different. Some of them are going to be obviously quicker, kind of in and out projects, and some of them are, for instance, when we were down in right outside of New Orleans a few years ago in LaPlace, Louisiana. That was in 2013. We were there. The house that I was working on, we were working on that house the entire 8 days. We had a crew of about 10 people working on it.
So that's like you completely restore.
Yeah, I mean, we did a roof on it. We did roof, siding, drywall, flooring, electrical work, plumbing work. I mean, we did everything.
So I guess that, and Thomas kind of mentioned it already, but like
I ruin everything.
Yeah, well, yeah, like, and you said it. There's still 30 days to collect or for people to volunteer. What do you guys need, and how can we? Because this will be us wrapping it up. We're about 45 minutes in, which is a good amount of time. What do you need? How do you fill that? Like, how if someone wants to volunteer or give money? I imagine hands are probably more important.
Resources, trucks. I don't know what people need.
Yeah, like whatever. Like, what do you need, and how do you get it?
Yeah, well, we need the unlimited budget. So if somebody just wants to write that blank check, but
we have two viewers like that. So hopefully they haven't written us a blank check for obvious reasons.
Yeah,
but maybe
nobody wants to pay us to do this.
Maybe they'll reach out to you.
So for 8 Days of Hope, it's 8daysofhope.com. And there's the volunteer links on there and the donation links on there. And it's actually really cool. So the Catholic Charities down in Louisiana has actually given a matching donation. So they are going to throw in $250,000 as long as we can raise $250,000.
Wow.
Which we get a $500,000 budget for the week, which is right about what we're normally looking at. So when we're going in, of course, there's all the materials that are being bought, plus we're feeding all the volunteers and everything. So there's a lot that goes into the event as far as having to purchase things. So at this point, basically, if you can donate $100, you're donating $200 because Catholic Charities is releasing that $100, to match all those donations. So any donations that can be made are being doubled. So that's just awesome. And of course, like I said, volunteers. That's what we need. We need people that are willing to come down there. Whether you can come for all 8 days or you can come for 2 or 3 days, and just help us. We provide the lodging. So we're going to actually be staying at the Cajun Dome. They're going to have it all set up to be able to house us there. We provide the food. So really, the only expense that it costs you to come volunteer is to get there.
Right.
So whatever travel expenses you would have to to get there.
So and they can go to 8daysofhope.com.
Yep.
Donate money, and if they're going to donate money, probably go to 8daysofhope.com.
Yeah, you can go on there on the website and do that. And there'll be the donation link and there's the volunteer link on there. So whichever way you want to go and whichever way you feel led to help out.
You personally and say, hey, James, I'm interested in volunteering, but not just with 8 Days of Hope. Eventually, I'd like to continue volunteering with you. Can they contact you and still go, or do they need to do it through 8daysofhope.com?
Yeah, I mean, if they want to get in touch with me, I'm glad to talk to folks about it, let them know all the information, everything. And so for 516 Project, our website's 516project.org. There's a contact form on there and everything as well. So yeah, if they want to get in touch with me, if they have any questions or anything like that, I'm glad to answer questions. If there's something I don't know, I will reach out to somebody else on the leadership team and find the answer. But yeah, and then a lot of the questions that I would assume somebody would have are on 8daysofhope.com. There's a bunch of the frequently asked questions on there. And so I'm sure that probably most questions somebody would have would be on there and answered for you.
Yep. Cool.
Parting stuff. I really, real quick, can you go over some of the responses you guys have gotten so far already? Like whenever you guys go and help out a family or help out hurt an individual, kind of what's their initial response? What's kind of what you guys put into it, and then what they get out of it?
Yeah, well, I'd say, and this is from a project we did here locally with 516 Project. We got an email from this woman, and she had several issues with her house. And as we got to know her, we found out that she had a grandson living with her, and he had been born. The mom was on drugs, and so he was born addicted to drugs, going through all kinds of treatments and everything. And so here she is, and not old woman, but an older woman trying to take care of this child that has obviously a lot of extra needs because of the situation he was in. And the house has just gotten to the point where, she couldn't take care of it just based on time. And so we were able to help her out. So initially we didn't know about her grandson. So once we found out about her grandson, we were able to get together, and we ended up working on her house in November, like right before Thanksgiving time. And so we were able to then turn around and found out about her grandson. We're able to get a bunch of our volunteers together, along with another group locally, and blessed them with a whole bunch of Christmas presents. So he had an awesome Christmas as well as the house being fixed. And then after that, I got an email from her and a phone call. And I mean, she was just in tears, and and just saying that I can't believe that strangers did this for me. And so it was an awesome opportunity to talk with her and there again share the gospel with her and everything. There's another one, and if you go on the 8 Days of Hope website, I'm pretty sure this video is still on there. But the last trip we did was we were in South Carolina, and each night we have dinner, and we always invite our homeowners to come back and have dinner with us. And this lady came, and Steve Tiber, who's the executive director, he was going around kind of interviewing some of the homeowners, asking what the crews had done for them and all that. This lady was just so on fire. She grabbed the mic from Steve and just started preaching. I mean, it was absolutely awesome. And of course, and all of us that know Steve were kind of laughing because he's always like the MC of the event at night. And so I mean, she just totally upstaged him. Like, it was crazy, But I'm pretty sure that video is still on the website. And so if you go on there and look for that, but that's the excitement that these people had, because there again, this was a woman who thought she had been forgotten,
right?
Because the flooding had happened. These response teams had come in, and then everybody was gone, and her house still needed work. And so that excitement, that rejuvenation of hope and of their spirit and everything is just awesome.
That's cool.
It's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like to say that, man, I serve a real God who finds real people in real need and fixes them really. Like he really fixes things. Like it's huge for people. It's big.
Yeah, absolutely.
You got anything before we go? Anything you want to say to people, or one last pitch?
Yeah, no, I appreciate y'all having me on, and like I said, yeah, if folks want to reach out to me and have any questions, whatever, that's totally fine. Glad to talk about this type of stuff. And yeah, 516project.org is our website for here in Virginia, and then 8daysofhope.com is the website for that. And like I said, 8 Days of Hope is nationwide. So I think actually, in South Carolina, or when we were in South Carolina back in October, one of the guys on my team was from Quebec, Canada. So we've got people coming from all over the place. We've had people come from Washington State, California, all over. So
I just want to reiterate to the audience that matching gift. So if you're going to donate money, there's organizations down in Lafayette that are going to match that gift. And if you go down and get your hands dirty,
go do it.
Yeah, I'll be looking for you guys' name on the sign-up sheet.
Yeah,
it's in June. I actually be in Virginia. I'll be during that time for an intensive, so we'll be able to see each other.
And now I know you've got experience at hanging shelves, so we'll make sure we get you a good project.
It may take me days to hang the shelf, but I'm gonna.
All 8 days, one guy.
I'll put that up
on a shelf.
Yeah, so awesome. Thanks, James, for being on the show. Thanks for reaching out, man. Like, I love being able to do this. Like, if I'm gonna put my money into kingdom stuff, this is the stuff. So I'm gonna
meeting real needs.
I'm gonna go on to 8 Days of Hope, and I got some money laying around.
Got some change
that I don't do anything with. So throw some that way. This is kingdom stuff that's important. So
thanks, guys.
Thank you. We love you guys, and go to 8daysofhope.com, volunteer, put some money into this thing, and get some people's homes fixed, and give them hope. Give them some hope. Yeah. So
absolutely.
Until next time, we will stay on. I mean, we love that we get to do this. So we'll see you later. James, take it easy.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Stay on.
All right.
Thanks for checking out The Odd Show. You can follow Bruce on Twitter at bpags2 and Thomas at BlenderZen. Remember to rate and review us on iTunes and share us with your friends. Until next time, stay odd.